right. Good afternoon, everybody. Man, I got on here just in time. I'm so psyched up. I'm excited to present to you all today. Brent asked me to do this, and I have a ton of material presented, and we only have 10 minutes, 9-ish minutes to get through it all. Real quick, a little background on myself. I promise to be brief. My name is Johnny Jennings, and some cool things about me is I'm actually a business partner with Brent Gove. So I had my own production team. Brent moved to Puerto Rico. He's like, hey, Johnny, since I'm over in Puerto Rico, how about we join teams together and you run the production team? So I'm running Brent's production team. About 6 months or so ago, a fellow by the name of Tom Daves reached out to me. For those of you who don't know who he is, he was the #1 Keller Williams agent worldwide 7 different times. He reached out to me back in July and said, hey, Johnny, I like what you're doing with Brent. How about we partner together? And so currently right now, we have 27 active and pendings, or active and coming soon listings. Those are just listings. And we currently have 16 escrows going. And so I'm not sharing that to brag or do anything like that, but because I wanted you to know where I am today, give you some relevance and some color as to what I've achieved in a relatively short period of time. Because I remember not too long ago going months without having an escrow, having tons of money loaded up on the credit cards and wondering how the heck am I going to pay these off, and how am I going to stay in the business? Am I going to have to get a job? Should I DoorDash? Should I go back to welding in the oil fields? Wasn't that long ago. And so I'm going to share with you a couple quick tips that helped bring me from that to where I am today. Tip number 1, I actually credit Elena Cardone with this tip. She, have you all heard of the book Build an Empire by Elena Cardone? Raise your hand if you've heard that book. So I read that book shortly after it came out, and it totally changed the trajectory of my life and my business and my marriage. And what happened is in that book, Elena talks about, if you've all heard Elena speak before, she talks about 2 Clydesdales and 2 Clydesdales pulling together. 1 Clydesdale pulling by itself can pull 8,000 pounds. And in the book, she says that 2 Clydesdales pulling together can pull 24,000 pounds. And so what that has to do in business and in life is my wife and I, she's also a real estate broker, we were pulling in different directions. We were not pulling together. And so maybe your wife isn't in business with you. Maybe you don't have a significant other. Maybe it's your family, but you have to get your family on the same page as you. And so what does that mean? That doesn't mean they have to come over to your side of the fence. Maybe you have to go over and meet them on their side. You have to come to a resolution, because if things at home are not going well, then your business is going to suffer. So that was probably the first and one of the most foundational things that changed in Valerie. My wife's name is Valerie. And Valerie and my business was we got on the same page, and we have to continually stay on the same page. It's not a one and done thing. Our dear friends, actually, Rob Litzinger, the guy who's behind the scenes running the meeting, he actually suggested we speak with some counselors a while back, and they had us implement a Sunday evening staff meet, like family staff meeting is what it's called, where Valerie and I get together and we have conversations about staying on the same page. Cannot overemphasize that enough. That was thing number 1. Thing number 2 that I started doing was I started dragging my butt out of bed and getting in the office by 8 a.m. Monday through Friday. If there's one thing that you can do, so if you're already doing that, great. If you're not doing that, that is probably an addition to, besides getting your family on the same page, get your butt to the office by 8 a.m. You don't have an office, have a place, I would suggest, if you can, off-site, outside of your home, that you can go to work. If it's a Starbucks or if it's a co-working space or anything like that, we all have access to Regus locations. So you can always hop into a Regus for free. It's part of being a perk of being with EXP, but do it by 8 a.m. You got to get started by 8. Why? Because it gives you time to begin the day before all those emails and texts and just life starts getting in the way. Some of you may have to take kids to school, and there may be that whole song and dance in the morning. I get that, but you have to have a consistent routine. Who here knows about John Sheplak? You've all heard that guy before? So John, oh, by the way, I like Dan's background. You got a good background there, Dan. John recently, if you have not signed up for his email newsletters, highly recommend you do so. There's tons of gold in those. And what he was talking about this week was as real estate agents, we're constantly looking for that shiny object, but you can't spend your way out of this situation. He's often said that this market is like a receding tide, and you're going to see soon who's wearing pants and who's not. And you cannot spend your way out of the situation. What you can do, though, is you can invest in yourself. So if your family's good and you're showing up to work on time, like 8 o'clock in the morning, you're doing that consistently, you're treating this as a business, you're treating this as a job, not as a hobby, then what are you doing once you get to work? Are you consistently doing lead generation activities? Something that took my business from being small and inconsistent to what it is today is open houses. Val and I did 90 open houses in 90 days. Another thing that we did was we started reaching out to our sphere. Does everybody on this call have a database? Does everybody have a database in their KV Core, in whatever their CRM is? Wonderful. So if you don't have one, create one. If you have one, touch it every 90 days. What we're doing right now is we're running a Gobble Gobble giveaway. And we're giving away a green egg smoker, a Yeti cooler, and a gift card to Whole Foods, like for a Thanksgiving dinner. So what you need, we use Realty Funnels, amazing CRM. My last name is Jennings, Jennings. John Sheplak's last name is Sheplak. But you need to be reaching out to your database. Something unique about Valerie and my real estate experience is we changed markets 3 times our first 4 years in real estate. Do not recommend going that route. If you want hard, then that's one way to go about it. But we changed markets 3 times our first 4 years in real estate, and these were completely different markets. It wasn't like moving from one town to the next. It was like 70, 100 miles between them all. And so what we found, though, was that our database, even though our database was not local to the area, they knew people in the area. They had friends, family, past coworkers who lived in the area. So that's the other thing I would recommend to you. And then I'm going to just make sure I got everything in there. So that's all I have. That's all I had was those 3 things. So make sure your family's on the same page. Get to the office by 8 a.m. Make sure you're working on your database. And are you doing and work on yourself? Are you doing active activities consistently and in quantities great enough to move the needle on your business? Are you making enough calls? Are you doing enough open houses? Are you going to enough networking events? Are you calling your database enough? And so I cannot overemphasize the power in that. And then if you want a bonus one, find somebody to run with you. If you run it, Brent says it all the time, that ancient African proverb: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So find somebody to run with you. So with that, what questions do y'all have for me on these last couple minutes we have? I can talk about lead generation sites, listing stuff, anything. What do you got? Hi, Kim. I haven't seen you in a long time. All right. Oh, yeah. What do you got? Herb?
Yeah. Okay. Question for you. What kind of customer types, or is there anything that you're focusing on right now, like FSBOs, expireds, anything specific?
Yeah. So the 2 things that we're using to drive listings for our business is, number 1, Fellow, Fello. Highly recommend you look into that. It's by a guy named Ryan Young. It's kind of like HomeBot, but way, way better. So Fellow. And so what we're doing is, if we get so we put our database in Fellow, and if we get any activity on the Fellow tool, we're giving them a call, and we're setting listing appointments off that tool. And then the other thing we're doing is we are calling expireds and FSBOs. We're having more traction with the old expireds. So what I have found in our market, I'm in Sacramento, is that there are certain vendors out there that maybe work better in different markets. So we hear a lot about Redx. I have not had a whole lot of success with Redx. Specifically, their data isn't that great. Where we get our data is we use Vulcan 7. Yeah.
Do you have an ISA team doing the dials on that, or do you have all the agents working it?
Great question. Yeah. So it started out with the agents doing it, but again, it goes back to that consistency thing. But we do have ISAs. The agents can also, they have access to the data as well, but they just don't make the dials.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. What type of events do we do for our sphere? So yeah, so there's two main things that we do. One is a giveaway. So we do like the green egg smoker thing. And we like that because then you can take pictures. And for example, the last time we did it, the person who won the Yeti cooler, and one of our agents, it was one of our agents' clients, she won the Yeti cooler, and she ended up giving her a listing referral out of it. So the whole thing probably cost us, you know, a fair chunk of change, like $2,500 between, because those green egg smokers are not cheap. But we ended up getting a deal out of it, you know, worth 10 or 15 grand. So the giveaways, and if you can't do it, something's better than nothing, right? The production will follow after you do the activity consistently. So we do the giveaways, and then we also do movie. We rent out like a movie theater, and we do something there. I prefer the giveaways. If you're gonna do the movie theater, my suggestion is have like a venue where you can like hang out with them beforehand. Because if everybody just funnels into the movie theater and then funnels out, it's not as sticky as if you have time to you know, shake hands and catch up with your past clients. All right. Well, hey, that's it. We're done. It's 2:22. Was this, can you give me some feedback? Was this good? Was there anything good? Okay.
Thank you, Johnny. It was really good.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, you guys have a great rest of your day. See you next week.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
Johnny. Love you.
See you, Clark.